Good evening, everybody. I've had a bit of a technical glitch tonight. I was supposed to come on at 9 p.m. But it hasn't worked out like that, so I'm on now. So it's a little bit later than I expected. So tonight I want to talk about the inner work and how I got to where I am today. I used to get frustrated by hearing the term inner work. People would always say to me, you need to do the inner work, you need to do the inner work. And they would never explain to me how to do the inner work. And this was frustrating because I would see people's lives transform and they would just say, I did the inner work. So I wanted to share with you all about how I came to do the inner work. Now, this is my experience. We all have our own journey, and what my inner work is going to be different to your inner work. So I can only talk about it from my perspective. So how did I transform my life? Well, first of all, we have to take steps. Now, the first step, and what is the most important step, is recognition. Now, before we can start to do any work on ourselves, we have to recognize within us what we need to change. So if you've got some sort of addiction, for an example, for an alcoholic to recover, they have to recognize that they are an alcoholic, and this is a big step, because when we realize that we have to change, it can hit us quite hard when we realize what the issue is, and it takes courage and it can be emotional once we recognize and we acknowledge that we need to do work on ourselves. So this is probably the most important and profound step to come to a realization that things aren't going the way we want them to, and we need to really look within ourselves and start doing the work. So what does the inner work involve? Well, once we've come to that realization of what we need to change, for me, it was a case of I'd just come out of a challenging relationship, and I was sat one night and it hit me. I started to self-reflect on my life, and I had this realization that the world the world wasn't a bad place. Everything was how it should be, but it was my perception of it. The next stage for me was to start to look within myself. The way I did that to begin with was through meditation. Meditation, it allows you to create space within yourself, and it allows you to reflect on the issues you have. So there are lots of videos out there on meditation, and for people that don't really know how to meditate, I'm going to talk about meditation in another video, and I'm going to run a beginner's meditation class to teach people how to meditate, because meditation to me is very important. It's a very important tool. To create the space for new things to come into our lives, we have to clear out the old, and through meditation it allows us to do this. So it is it requires a lot of devotion and dedication. So that was one of the first steps for me to start this process, was to meditate. Now we all meditate differently. I got told that to meditate in silence. Now, to me, it was difficult to meditate in silence. It's a lot easier to meditate in a group, but when you meditate in silence on your own, it is extremely difficult. So I've always meditated listening to music, and to focus on my breathing, and this works for me. It might not work for you, but this works for me. This worked for me. Once I got into the flow of meditation, and I started to look deep within myself, I started then to read books and information on higher consciousness, spirituality, reading material, and watching videos. Again, for me, it was extremely important because it gets you in the space. So I started to watch videos on spirituality, spiritual teachings, read books on spiritual teachings, and really I would spend every day reading. I'd spend every day listening to teachings from spiritual teachers, various spiritual teachers, teachers that spoke of truth, and resonated with me. So once you start processing and reading this knowledge, your thoughts start to change. Your reality begins to change. It's during this process it's important to try and not engage in negativity. So I spent quite a while not watching TV, not reading newspapers, because we are constantly, our brain is like a sponge. Whether we know it or not, we're constantly taking information in. So if we are watching the news and watching violence on TV, or engaging in negative behaviour, it is having an effect on our mind. So what I had to do is spend time not watching TV. Now people would say to me, how can you not watch TV? I wish I couldn't watch TV. This is a natural process. I didn't force myself not to watch TV. As the journey goes on, you start to lose interest in things that you had an interest in before. So you, rather than coming home from work and settling down and watching the 6 o'clock news, I would come home from work and I would have my tea and I would go straight into the bedroom and start to read. And some days I would read the same text over again. I would allow myself time every day for me. I would meditate in the morning and meditate in an evening and read in an evening. And I did this repeatedly for some time. So the meditation and the spiritual literature was very important for myself. During the process as well, something that I've done all my life but I really started to do more of was walking and to be in nature. Now we all go walking. We all walk from A to B, whether it be to the car or to the bus stop. But it was really important to get out of the busy environment, and so I would go find the most secluded places and go walking in. Usually I would end up on the moors, or walking at night under the stars, because this helps you to reconnect with yourself. If you look at nature, so if you're walking in nature and you're taking in your surroundings, you look at a tree, for example. A tree just grows naturally. A tree doesn't shape itself to look good. A flower doesn't shape itself to look good. Nature is unconditioned, and that is why nature is so beautiful, because it is unconditioned. It's not being touched, it's not being pruned, it's to look a certain way. Like humans, we have this thing about having to look our best for people, having to put on a mask for people, and this isn't being authentic. So when we are in nature, nature shows us its rawness, it shows us its authenticity, and you can really connect back to yourself with nature. Um, so that was another way that part of my inner work was going out and connecting with nature and taking in the raw beauty of it, um, listening to the trees, listening to the birds, listening to the water flowing down the river. What we do is we are sociable. We're very sociable creatures. Humans are pack animals. We live. We like to be around other people, and part of the inner work is to spend time with yourself. Now, this can be difficult because it can get lonely, but what happens, the reason why we want to socialize with other people is because we can't face ourselves. Humans are really good. One of the things that we are really good at is avoidance, looking at ourselves and being with ourselves. And this is a major part of the inner work. You cannot love yourself if you're constantly avoiding yourself. It is about being with yourself. So for me, I had to spend a lot of time on my own, and be with myself. Getting to know myself was the key. We try to fill our lives up with so many things, just so we can't be with ourselves. I see it all the time. People want, planning their social lives and, being with family and friends. So it was difficult to be able to spend time with myself, to get to know myself, to get to know what I like. And because when we spend time with other people, we tend to people please, so we will tend to do things that others like. As I said, I absolutely love walking, and I love spending time with people. But there's nothing more beautiful than actually just going for a walk on your own and really taking in the surroundings. Now, on the contrary to that, we have to have this balance, and another thing for me was to be around like-minded people as well. Now, we're all energetic beings, and so we all give off energy and we receive energy. If we are surrounded by people that are quite negative, that put us down, they will bring us down, and they will do whatever, and maybe they don't mean to, but some people sometimes they do, and people will try to do whatever they can to bring us down to their level. So we have to be around like-minded, high vibrational people as well, and this is not going to happen straight away. I spent a while not having anybody. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult. I went through extreme pain of isolation, and I in the times when I really needed a friend, there was nobody there. It it wasn't until about 12 months ago that I really started to connect with more people, people on the same wavelength. Um, this is important. We have to get that balance. The balance is important. Um, so it's about spending time alone, but also spending time around like-minded people. During this, I want to talk a little bit about self-investment. Now, what do I mean when I say self-investment? This is doing the things that you feel will help you. So it required me to take a lot of time out of work. You cannot, if you're really dedicated and devoted to transformation, you have to allow time for yourself, and you have to get over the fear of not being in work. Work is another avoidance. So I'm not saying don't quit your job and don't go to work, but there has to be a balance. I ended up, in the last 3 years, I've had more time off on the sick than since I started work right back when I was 18. It is an emotional process, and the way we deal with emotions, we have to take time out of life. So we need those days off on the sick. We need to just be with ourselves. Another part of self-investment was any money I had was therapy. Therapy has helped me so much. Meditation is absolutely fantastic, but what I found is the more you progress, meditation didn't seem to be enough. So I had to go deeper. Now, in order for me to go deeper, it required me to have to start looking into past lives, having past life regression and hypnotherapy, and talking therapy. I even went to counselling. So I spent a lot of time doing going to having hypnotherapy, and this made me go deeper, and made me come to the realization that that things still needed to shift. So then I started going to workshops, attending looking at more of the shamanic practices, and I'm really going deep. Now, I didn't do this on my own. I was blessed to connect with lots of people that would help me with these practices. So I would attend workshops and events where we would meditate together, and we would do journeys, and do different exercises to really clear up the emotions, and really get deep. The most recent thing, work I've been doing on myself is looking into the plant medicines. Now, the plant medicines are, a lot of the plant medicines are illegal in the UK, and a lot of the shamanic medicines. This is something we have to get over. A lot of the psychedelics and the plant medicines are perceived as being drugs, and bad for us. I had to really get over that conditioning that actually these medicines are not drugs, and I had to look into the reasons why they are illegal. So I started to look, the first plant medicine, I started to look into cannabis. Now, when cannabis is not abused, it is a very powerful medicine. It has really helped me. Now, again, this is my journey, and some people may not need cannabis. What cannabis did for me is I would smoke it out of my shisha pipe, but I wouldn't smoke it recreationally. I would do it in set up a little ceremony for myself, and I would meditate with it first. And from cannabis, I discovered another medicine called rapé, or it's pronounced harpe. This is a mixture of tobacco and other plants crushed down into a powder from the Amazon rainforest, and you blow it up your nose, and it goes deep within and clears any blockages, and you can start purging with it to clear any trapped emotions and any blockages. I've recently done another psychedelic that I'm not going to talk about on this video because it is illegal in the UK. But again, it's all to do with these plants, these trees, these medicines. They are medicines that Mother Earth provides for us. We realise that all these things that Mother Earth provides for us are there to help us. So that all that work helped me to transform my life, and all this is called inner work, and that's what the term inner work means. It means doing the work on yourself. So there was, the first step was was realization that an acknowledgement that something has to change. Then it's a case of looking within through meditation, reading spiritual texts, surrounding yourself by like-minded people, and getting to love yourself. Self-love is a challenge. We're so good at judging ourselves. We're so good at putting ourselves down, because we're just programmed to think negatively about ourselves. You know, how many people can look in a mirror and see pure beauty? They can look in a mirror and they'll find a fault with themselves. Like, for example, I was looking in the mirror and think to myself, you know, I've got a big nose. Or I'd listen to myself back on the recording or a live video when I first started to do my lives, and I think, oh, I can't stand the way I sound like. And so I don't be always finding faults with myself. Now I accept that I am who I am, and that I am perfect. I am perfect in every way because God does not make imperfections. During the process of doing the inner work, another challenging thing was relationships breaking down, relationships, friendships. We're scared of being on our own, and again, because we're pack animals, we survive in packs, in groups. And what happens when you on this journey is that everything you know, everything you've learned, your whole reality starts to fall away. So you can find yourself in very challenging situations. So all of a sudden, your best friend who you've known for a while, they may start to fizzle away. You may start to lose contact. You will lose a lot of people, and know that the reason this is happening is your vibration is changing. Your energy is strengthening, and so if you have a friendship like this, or you're in a relationship and you're growing and the other person isn't, there's going to become an imbalance. When there is an imbalance, it cannot work. Things cannot work. They have to get back into balance. So what happens is friendships and relationships they start to get further and further apart. And there is a period of time, as I said earlier, where you do feel very isolated. You do feel very alone. And I call this a rest period for yourself, because you know, when we cannot always buy new clothes. Because we need to make space. If we keep buying new clothes, there's going to be nowhere to put them. So what we have to do, we have to look through our wardrobe and look at the old clothes that we don't want anymore, and think. And sometimes we have to get rid of everything. You know, we have to, like, well, I've had this top for a while, it's old now, and we have to get rid of it. And this is the same thing. So we are, what we're doing is we're creating space for the new. to come in, and it is a process. So sometimes when from a psychologist's point of view, in the world of psychology, inner work might be going through everything in your life and really psychoanalyzing that. Now this is hard work. We just do not have the time and the capacity to psychoanalyze everything. I'm 35 years old now, and if I was to psychoanalyze every situation in my life, I would be here forever. And you know, I've known people that are psychologists and have been into psychology, and it's a wonderful thing. I do not disrespect psychology whatsoever, but it's on this journey, psychology may not be beneficial. So we have to do what we feel is right. So again, meditation is psychology, but you don't have to do anything. You're just being with your thoughts, emotions and feelings. Imagine psychoanalyzing every thought. Your brain is constantly processing thoughts. So that is something you can do. I chose not to psychoanalyze. I don't like psychoanalyzing. It's exhausting. If you are going to engage, I mean, media. We think of media. We can think of media as negative, but media also involves watching documentaries and so I started watching documentaries on dimensions, consciousness. There's reading books on consciousness. There is I have a lot of books. There's a man, he's died now, but Dr. David Hawkins, he was a spiritual psychologist, and his books are absolutely amazing. And just reading the texts from him really get they really have an impact. Also with myself, I started to look at Indian philosophy. I'm not so much into the Indian philosophy now, but that was something else. Another thing I did was contemplation. Now, contemplation is where you take a subject and you look deeper into it. So I would... Oops, sorry about that. So I would start... so the way I contemplated is I would go up on the hill and I would just sit there and watch the sunset and wait for the stars to come out. To me, it was very, very expansive, looking up at the night sky and seeing the stars, and it really got me to wondering about the whole of existence and what's really out there, and the energies at night in a night sky are so it's profound, and it. So I found myself just sat for hours looking up at the stars, wondering and expanding. And within these contemplations, I had a lot of realizations. And all this is the inner work. So the inner work is all about expansion, and to begin with, you need guidance. We all need guidance to begin with. So I found teachers. Teachers they were wonderful. Was spiritual teachers. They really helped me along my path. But a teacher can only take you so far. They can guide you, but they can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. During the inner work, I also had healings. So I went to see Reiki healers, because spiritual healers, these people helped me shift the energy, the energy, and it was also it helped me go within, because it got you into that space of total relaxation, and it does shift you, but it's all about dedication and devotion, how much you want to do this. We all say we want to change our lives. We all say, oh, I wish my life could be better. But do we really want to change our lives? Do we really want to lose our identity of who we are? And when it comes to it, not many of us do. It's a big step, a big leap. We are conditioned, because we are so heavily conditioned, and we identify ourselves to let go of the identifications is a big thing. But this is where change comes in. Again, letting go of the old and allowing space for the new. So for all this work I did, I was able to transform my life, and it's a natural process. So if you've got the dedication and devotion, and you really want to change, start by. A lot of people start by the law of attraction, and one of the many years ago, I watched a DVD, and I read a book called The Secret, and that was about the law of attraction. Another film I watched was Celestine Prophecy. So what happens eventually then is you start to be able to guide yourself as well. So you start to do you feel drawn to different practices and doing different exercises that feels right for you. So with myself now at the moment, it's the plant medicines and the psychedelics. The psychedelics the psychedelics for me is I wouldn't have looked into these years ago, because I would have I perceived them as drugs and bad, and out of all honesty, they probably would have really messed me up. I had to do many years of meditation and other practices before I went on to the psychedelics. And still now I'm exploring, because the inner work, it's a continuous process. So it's not, don't get scared when you hear the term inner work, because it could be something like just taking 5 minutes every day just to spend time with yourself, and maybe sitting in silence, or listening to a bit of music, something that you like. Also doing activities you enjoy and not pleasing other people. When you're doing something that you really enjoy, you're giving yourself love. You're loving yourself. You're bringing that joy out in yourself. One of the other things I did as well was inner child work. Now, this is was a big part for me. Inner child work is really important, because our childhood shapes us who we are today, and if we've got unresolved issues from childhood, it has an effect from today. So what the inner child work involved was to looking back over my childhood and exploring why things happened. Now again, I didn't do this on my own. I had therapy for this, and it is available. You can do the inner child work. You will hear people talking about psychoanalyzing it, but like I say, psychoanalyzing your childhood, it's a lot of work, and you can have counselling, and counselling is brilliant, but it's a long process, and it can go on for many years, and still you're reliving that moment. What the inner child work is doing is it's taking you back to your childhood, and for me, I could have spent 10-20 years doing the counselling. The inner child work might have few hours worth of work, and you can keep going back to it, and going back to it. In total, for me, all the work I've done to get to where I am now has been about 5 years. 5 years seems a long time, and some of you will be thinking, oh my god, 5 years, it's a long time. It is a long time, but it also isn't a long time, because I don't call it inner work now. It's quite a scary word, inner work. Even going to a workshop, and and doing things you enjoy, that is inner work. So attending ceremonies, and discovering these plant medicines, reading up on things, it's all inner work, and it doesn't feel like work. And the reason, because the word work, we associate something doing that we don't enjoy, and the spiritual inner work is very enjoyable. It's challenging, and there are going to be times when you want to give up. I went through many times when I was in emotional breakdown. I was in so much emotional and mental pain, suffering. But this is where your courage and strength comes in, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And now things still come up. I'm not going to say that life is perfect. It's all love and light, and my life runs smoothly, because it doesn't. The difference is now is when challenges come up, I'm able to see the bigger picture of it and the reasons behind it and why it's coming up, and that is really profound, because if you've not done any work on yourself and you're faced with a challenge, you fall into the victim mentality, or like, why is this happening to me, and why life is shit, life is cruel. When you got that bigger understanding of it, that deeper understanding, you realise that these things that might not be pleasant, when they come up in life, you see, well, this is why they're coming up for me, and it's showing me where I still need to work on myself, and that propels you forward. So as I said earlier, meditation was very important for me. Now I get asked a lot of questions by people, like, how do I meditate? I've never meditated before. And meditation it's a practice that has been used for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. And it's one of these things that to somebody that is into meditation knows, it's like, you can think, how do you not know how to meditate? But if you've never meditated before, then it's not still a question. And I'm going to set up a group, for a meditation group for beginners, because when you start to meditate, if you've not meditated before, once you start to meditate, then even that in itself can have some amazing effects on your life. So that as a whole is my inner work, and that is what has got me to where I am now. And it is a process, and it is a continuous process. I'm happy to be a guide to people, but I can't do the work for people. Well, nobody can do the work for people. You may come across people that will say, "Oh, well, I can do that for you. I can do that for you." We can facilitate things. We can be a guide, but anybody that says, "Well, let me do that for you," that's coming from ego, and that's not. You know, you have to walk the path yourself. We can have we meet guides along the way that walk down the path with us, but they have to leave us at some point, and we have to do it ourselves. They can give us the tools, the knowledge, and we're always discovering new things. But when you do it yourself, and that is inner work. So I hope you've found this video helpful and you've got something out of it. If anybody's got any questions on anything, then feel free to ask, because there are a lot of tools out there, and if anybody wants me to explain a particular tool or anything specific, then I'm more than happy to go to chat to you about that. What I can't talk about is some of the natural medicines, with it being a Facebook Live. I know Facebook monitors us, so but I'm more than happy to chat in a private message about the plant medicines, and the natural medicines that are deemed illegal over here. But I can't talk about it on Facebook on a live. But if anybody's got any questions, or if anybody just wants to comment or share something, they're more than welcome. If not, then I will say good night, and if anybody's got any questions later, or they want to have a chat, then that's absolutely fine. And thank you all for watching, and thank you to everybody that will watch later on, because I know not everybody watches the live videos. Not everybody watches the live when they are live. You know, we all have things that we're doing. But if you're watching later on, then thank you, and thank you to you guys that have taken time out on your Saturday evening to watch this. It means a lot, and I really appreciate. I really appreciate what you're watching. You know, there could be millions of other things you could be doing on Saturday night, but you've chosen to tune into this live video, and that, I really appreciate that, so thank you. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Much love to you all. Good night.